Diabetes is extremely important to me. One, because my kids are at risk of succumbing to diabetes.
It's an epidemic and it's life-threatening. People have to get more serious in the seriousness of diabetes.
I'd like to go back in time to my great-grandfather's time. In 1868, he signed the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868. And from that time on, he had to live out his life on the northeast corner of our reservation. And then they could no longer hunt and feed their families, their tioshpai. And if he left the reservation without a written pass, he would have been shot as a hostile. So he had to live in the northeast corner of our reservation and provide for his family. But the federal government then gave them rations. And so he had to stand in line to get rations for his family, his tioshpai. And their diet changed at that time. And I believe that they were healthy people before that. They were active, they were hunters, gatherers.
It has a major impact on people because when we left the bottomlands of the Missouri River, it was an entirely different way of life because we left a lot of culture and tradition there, came out here, and by that time, diabetes was pretty prominent.
Obviously, we'd have been better off. I mean, because I think they took the heart right out of our reservation, really. I mean, it was a kind of a lifeline of our, of where we were and where we are still at the time. So in that way, I mean, as I described earlier, there was a lot of people that were self-sufficient. I mean, you had all the means to be self-sufficient, and that was stripped away.
The government began to ship in foods for the natives to consume, foods that were not traditional to the native diets. Most of the foods were surplus foods that consisted of fats and starches, dry beef, and were not the traditional healthy foods that maintained and sustained the Native Americans in this area. As a result of that, this artificial diet that was foisted on the natives in this area, health conditions began to manifest and started developing a host of abnormalities, metabolic disorders, which we see today.
100 years is not enough time for us to evolve so our bodies can get used to eating white flour and grain-fed beef without becoming unhealthy.
It has as much, if not more, impact than alcohol does on tribes. It has as much, if not more, impact mental health problems have on tribes. It's got to be on a par with those problems, and it's not at this point.
I never heard about people having being diabetic or any cancer, and so I guess from that time till today we have children that are being born diabetic.
Kids are younger and younger that are getting type 2 diabetes, and it used to be called an old person's sickness because they never got it till it was later in life. But now you're seeing it younger and younger. It's coming out younger and younger, and then that's not really good for them because as they get up there in age, then some of their kidneys and stuff are already damaged and stuff.
We have youth younger and younger being diagnosed with diabetes. It used to be type 2 diabetes wasn't, adults got that. We have youth as young as 5, 6, 7 years old now that are being diagnosed with diabetes, and it's tragic, it's sad, it's stuff that can be prevented, but it needs to be taught.
Starting with the kids, that is where we need to focus, or that is the population that we need to impact.
I think we have to start with the really small children, and the education has to start from there and continue all the way through high school. This is a big enough issue that it has to become part of the curriculum, and I think if you extend the school day or extend the school year, whatever you have to do, it is that big of an issue that it needs to be dealt with all the way through, from preschool through graduation from high school. Because without changing these children's values, the future generations won't change.
It's pretty important that we start with our kids right now, and we teach them about eating properly, eating vegetables, working the land, loving the land, getting involved, being active, because they're only going to learn from us.
As a government, we deal with it every day, and we have a lot of programs that we never used to have that deal with it, from healthy eating to, we do a lot with exercise. Not only deal with the adults that have it through dialysis and the things that we deal with nearly every day, but we focus a lot on the prevention.
At the beginning of every school year, we go in and the parents sign consent forms for us to screen the kids. At the beginning of the school year, we go in and we do their height, weight, and we do their waist, and we do their blood pressure. And then we get, then somebody's there to check the back of their neck for the brown marking. And then it's either a 1, 2, or a 3. We do get a high number of kids that are at risk for getting type 2 diabetes. So our part is to educate them about type 2 diabetes and to try to get them physically active.
They brought in their suitcases of like the diabetic foot, the big bottle of pop, and showing the kids how much sugar was in just one little small 20 ounce, and the kids were like shocked. And I think like that shock value is a huge thing that will impact them and think, oh my gosh, I don't want to have that.
The BMI is the body mass index, and it's different for youth than it would be adults. When children get measured and weighed, theirs is on a growth chart until they're age 20. So children's BMI, if they're at or above the 85th percentile, they are considered overweight until when you get to the 95th, it's considered obese.
Like I have probably 17, 18 kids a year, and I probably get, 6 or 7, and I would love to have all of my kids getting screened frequently. But so I suppose getting the word out with that would help a lot. And just if your kid is kind of on the borderline, you really should be watching and maybe giving them more information.
Type 2 diabetes is the body losing the ability to metabolize sugars that you take in your diet. Your body's initial response to this problem is to have the pancreas pump out more insulin. And in type 2 diabetes, which is the kind that most American Indian people end up with, the pancreas is pumping out high quantities, 2 and 3 times normal quantities of insulin to try and get the glucose intake, the sugar intake, metabolized. And with diabetes, your body, your tissues lose the ability to access that glucose from the bloodstream, take it up from the bloodstream, and use it in the tissues. So your muscles would use glucose as a source of energy, but if your muscles can't take it out of the bloodstream and use it, then you end up with an elevated blood glucose. So that's one of the things we follow.
People have a lot of fears about diabetes. The main fear is that they're going to have a complication from diabetes, and that happens if someone goes years with high blood sugars and maybe they didn't get the health care or the services that they need, or even the knowledge to help prevent complications. So we're trying to save people from blindness, amputations, heart attacks, strokes. We want everyone not to be on dialysis. We want our patients to be healthy 10 years down the road after diagnosis, 20 or even 30.
A lot of the students brought up that they had parents, grandparents, or an aunt or uncle or somebody that did have diabetes, and they would say, you know, my grandma lost her leg like that, you know, and I was like, this is something you can prevent.
The elevated blood glucose over time leads to damage to the small blood vessels that feed your feet and your hands, the small blood vessels around the heart that feed your heart, the small blood vessels that feed your brain and your kidneys and your eyes. And it also then starts to impact the larger blood vessels that supply blood to your whole leg, for example, supply blood up to your head through the carotid arteries. And these things then tend to close off with plaque, because with diabetes you also develop a lipid disorder and your cholesterol levels increase. And there's damage to the lining of the blood vessels, which leads to the plaque buildup, which leads to a blockage, which ultimately then can lead to a stroke or heart attack, loss of kidney function, loss of limbs, loss of eyes, and virtually every organ system in the body is affected by diabetes.
To be educated in diabetes prevention, then you have to live it, and you have to show them. They have to experience it, and then it becomes a habit after that. And this is what I tell this is what I do with my grandkids.
To combat the diabetes within our youth population, I think we can do several things. First, probably being to educate and make sure the children know about diabetes, the history of it, and the prevalence within their own families even, and how that can affect them.
I grew up not knowing what diabetes was. I grew up on, at that time it was called AFDC, but now it's called TANF. And I can remember during the first of the month, there would be pop, chips, and any other number of processed foods that are carb heavy and that are inconsistent with a sustainable and indigenous diet.
One of the barriers to treating these kids is getting them enough education to stop engaging in some of those behaviors. 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot of processed food available on the reservations, and now there is. Anywhere you go, there's these convenience stores have a deep fat fryer, and that's what they're selling. Little pizzas, fried chicken wings, things of this nature, and that's what the kids are eating.
You talk about, Friday they really eat a lot at lunch just because they know they might not have a good meal during the weekend. And we have some that come to school Monday morning and are so hungry, and kind of eat and gorge themselves a little bit, which isn't healthy either.
We didn't think about what was healthy for us to eat at the time. It's almost blasphemous to come out and take a stand against fry bread today in Indian country. But I don't eat fry bread.
It's important to educate about the pop, the chips, the candy bars, the levels of sugar that's in our food. I think those are good places to start.
A lot of the kids, you see them going around with the power drinks and pop, and we try to encourage them to drink more water. So we bring when we have activities, we bring fruit and water because we encourage them to drink more water, drink more fruit, because that's what's going to help them in the long run.
The reason we started the garden years ago is because as Lakota people, we have a natural connection to Mother Earth, to the land. We have so much of it, and we need to work it. We need to be engaged with it. And what I see is that kids had a disconnect, and they weren't learning, and they don't understand what Mother Earth can do for them. And with regard to the health of our community and the health of our future population, we really do need to continue to do that, to build on that, to help them learn about what gardening is, how they can eat fresh vegetables, what it can do for them, because that's how we're going to thrive. That's how we're going to survive as Lakota people.
And I think probably like the teen center, the main, having their snack in the afternoon, in the summer having more than one meal, and giving them healthy choices, and like all the fresh vegetables, and getting them able to be involved with the whole garden project and actually raising it. I think that's a big, big thing.
All of the tribes that reside in the Great Plains have recognized and named about 1,500 plants on the prairie. Out of that, probably about 300 are edible plants. One of the things that I firmly believe on is this whole business about bison meat. The bison meat is very healthy for you because it's very low in fat and very high in protein, and that's what our bodies have evolved to eat.
And if you try to follow a balanced diet, with fruits, vegetables, nuts, meats, and a variety of foods, I think you'll find people will be pleasantly surprised that their children will eat these things. And it doesn't have to be a bag of Cheetos and a Coke.
Holding more activities for the kids, getting the kids out of their homes into, like coming here to the teen center for midnight basketball. You see a lot of the kids come and participate, and they're running up and down the court. They're all doing something. They're moving. So that's a good part of it, is just creating more activities outside where they're not inside.
The walking program is right after school, so it starts at 3:30, goes till about 4. And I suppose with funding, maybe being able to hire a few people that could actually have the program later in the day and get more of the parents and the kids involved.
It's an excellent place to fight diabetes. Activity, the amount of calories that they can burn here depends on the client. When you are here and you're working out, it's a good environment, you're going to feel good. A lot of people are emotional eaters. So if they're not feeling good, they're going to eat when they're at home. They're bored, they're going to eat. If they come here and they work out, they can use this as the place to come and combat their diabetes. They can also prevent their diabetes by, staying active. If there's a lot of people that don't know how to work out, and we can teach them to do that with the services that we provide.
One of the ways that I personally try to combat this is that I run. I do 10Ks, half marathons, and triathlons.
And we have runners, and that's part of our tradition too, is runners. My family were runners. The Bareface were runners. The Four Bears were runners. And so I think there is more activity for them, and I think in time that will help to alleviate some of our problems with diabetes.
When the person's diagnosed at home, you have to change out the refrigerator. And you might have your portion, like I tell everybody, even on our weight loss management, you might have a certain section of the icebox that is yours. And that's your food. But eventually you want the whole refrigerator to reflect your food.
With the families, one person in the family makes a change, then the others follow. Because When I first got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I changed a lot of things. I quit drinking pop. I haven't drank pop for almost 3 years now. And so then there's no more pop in my house. And I started eating healthier, so everybody in the house started eating healthier.
I let the children and my grandchildren see, and I told them, this is for the rest of my life. You go to the doctor and you get a shot because you're sick or because you have to keep you from getting so sick on measles or something. This is every day.
You want to have everybody change. And I think as a team effort, you're going to be more effective in your treatment and your prevention. And if you have diabetes and you're an adult and you're home and your grandkids are there, or your children or friends, and they see that you're being a positive role model, that you want to take care of yourself, I think everybody else will want to take care of themselves.
And in some cases, we've seen instances where adult behavior is modified by their children. Adults have been talked into stopping cigarettes by their children, stopping alcohol by their children. Why not eating healthier?
The kids might come home and say, I know how many sugar cubes are in a pop. And they want maybe water. It's the whole family and the kids where they're learning these things, and they're going to the adults with diabetes or without diabetes in the household, and they're saying, I want fruit, I want vegetables. Well, that's priceless. That's so important.
I think we can educate our children and to teach them to eat better. I mean, they are our children, so it does start with the parent. It does start with ourselves. So this is something totally preventable, and we can overcome this.
The Lakota people have always been some of the best prepared, most planning, well thought out people in the universe. We used to plan, gather, hunt, save, prepare the long year for the harsh northern plains winters. This is another northern plains winter. This is the problem that's in front of us right now. We need to plan, we need to think about it, we need to gather our resources, and we need to go into the future to try to solve this problem and get through the next winter.
Because it's a day-to-day thing. I mean, it's an everyday thing. Diabetes prevention. It's not. Oh, I'm gonna go on a health kick, and it gets better. You get stronger as you go along, and you actually start looking forward to exercising or finding ways to eat healthy without eating processed or white carbs.
I think the tribe has a huge responsibility, but they have an opportunity also. They're in a unique position to be able to provide the education needed, the level of understanding needed, and they have the resources. I believe that all tribes have the resources to do this. It becomes a question of whether or not they want to. It becomes a question of where it's at on their priorities. The definition of belonging to a tribe means that you belong to a group of people that takes care of each other. Then I think it would follow from there that the tribe would have ultimate responsibility for this.
Well, I would hope someday that we would be able to intercept it at such an early age that we're able to work with the kids as they're real little, and we find out they're at risk, and figure out ways to promote a healthy lifestyle for them.
Well, I think we have a lot of expertise here at home with our youth diabetes program, with the initiatives that the Cheyenne River Youth Project has taken. All this needs to naturally come together in some kind of collaborative form moving forward so that resources are best used, we're not stepping on each other's toes, and we're moving forward in a positive way.
We know so much more, and we're meeting more needs all the time of the person with diabetes. And so we work with a whole lot of people trying just to get all the standards of care for that one person. So it's the prevention, the fitness center, we're giving referrals, getting people over to optometry, to dental, making sure that they're getting their foot checks, we're getting their immunizations, head to toe. Our goal is that person, we're going to catch a problem before it starts, and if there is a problem, we're going to take care of it before it develops into a true complication or a chronic problem with somebody.
We can help everybody out with everything that they're doing, put them on a plan, do an assessment later on, see how their progress is. You know, people get excited with, 10 inches and 20 pounds. I mean, they get excited, they're pumped, they want to keep going, they don't want to quit. And it becomes an addiction that they want to, and it's a positive addiction. And it's something that can impact all of their life.
Obesity and diabetes are two paramount problems that we need to fix. Is that, it's survival.
If I can help somebody, take a preventative measure and at an early age, they'd be healthy adults.
It's just the choice you have, and that's what I want to get the kids to understand too. It's a choice they're going to have to make, that stay healthy and try to eat as healthy as you can and stay active. Take control over their own life and do it. Otherwise, if you don't, then you're going to end up with the type 2 diabetes.
When you think about us as a society, when anything else threatened us, historically or even now, and it threatens our future, it threatens our continued existence, we fight back. And this is another way that we can do that. And so this is a disease, and we're losing our people far too young. But we can do this. We can win, and we have to. And through, our sovereignty and our self-determination and everything that we are as Lakota people, we can win. We can do this, and we have to do it so that we're here for generations to come.
I'm 92 years old today, and I've lived most of my life on this reservation, except for my education and my military service. And it's been an honor and a privilege for me to come back to my reservation and work among my own people. And I think a compliment from your own people is the highest honor you can ever receive. And I've been a walker. I've walked a lot in my life, sometimes up to 5 miles a day. And I watch my diet, and I try to control what I eat and to live a healthy lifestyle.
Big sicknesses. The elders talk about it, and today, 2012, we're living it. And I hope that children can really grasp what we're saying and pay attention to, because it's the only way to live is to follow Spirit. The only way to live is to go back to what your DNA, your blood is used to, the food. So if you go back to your DNA, that blood that your food is used to, then and walk and be healthy. And pray with that food. Nobody does that no more. But in our tradition, we have to pray with it. It's a spirit. It becomes medicine.
Once we start doing these things, we will understand, all of us will understand that this is not our way of life. Diabetes is not our way of life.